Wouldn't it be nice if Adam Sandler didn't count the dates up all so wrong? And wouldn't it be nice to talk together in a format that goes way too long? You know it's time to rewind, baby, for 19 dates of this movie with Drew Barry. Yeah, wouldn't it be nice? Good morning, listeners. It's another beautiful day here on It's Time to Rewind. I'm your host, Bubbawheat, and joining me today is my guest, Chris Nelson. How are you doing today?
Great, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. And this season we're discussing, what was the movie again?
It's 50 First Dates.
Oh, well, actually it's 19 first dates, and we are going through them one date at a time. And this week's date is what I'm calling their second date, because it is their second interaction, even though today's date doesn't really count as a date. But it does start at 21 minutes and 21 seconds, with Henry coming into the Hukilau Cafe during the rain and is met with an aloha goodbye from Sue, and it ends at 32 minutes and 31 seconds, with Henry on his boat and Oola in Henry's boat, literally. So, before we get to, today's date, what's your experience with this movie and, like, with Adam Sandler movies in general?
Yeah, I figured that would come up. I definitely saw this movie in theaters, and this was kind of like, I always think of this as like the start of him doing a little more serious things, like Wedding Singer and stuff like that, like in the late 90s and early 2000s, right? And it could because
Mm.
I have such a strong memory of 10-year-old me thought that like his mid-90s stuff was like the most hilarious thing ever, right? Like Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison and all those things. So I always like those, and it's one of those things now where I think back because like I don't really consume a lot of Adam Sandler stuff these days, and my I'm always like wondering like was it good, or was I just like it was just like young and immature and it just like hit the right spot, right? So I don't know, but I like this movie, and I like a lot of like pretty much everything he did before this movie. So plenty of Adam Sandler experience here.
Yeah, I am. I know, like I think I mentioned this in the last episode, but like I remembered about like hearing about his big Netflix deal, but at the same time, it felt like to me it just came out of nowhere, like last week or so, whenever he had a new movie pop up, and I was like, I didn't know anything about this until it just suddenly appeared on Netflix, the Bat Mitzvah movie.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, it's like I think it's actually his. Um, I think I heard that it was his real life daughter is kind of playing the main character, but and I believe he plays the father in the movie, but it's about the bat mitzvah gone wrong.
Hmm. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, I feel like in a way his movies are kind of like the same audience as like people who like really like sitcoms, right? Like it might not be like
Hmm.
the most highbrow thing, but there's certainly like a market for it, right? So
Which is kind of funny that because whenever you think of big sitcom, or at least I think of Friends, and lately he's made more than multiple movies with Jennifer Aniston.
that's true. Yeah, that's kind of her thing now, huh?
This seems like it. But jumping into today's date, we start out with him coming in the rain, and he's immediately met by Sue at the Hukilau Cafe, and he gives she gives him the aloha, and he's just like aloha, and she's like, no, not aloha, hello, aloha, goodbye. And I feel like at least a little part of that is just throwing in the as much Hawaii as possible from the filmmakers, like just a reminder that uh, the aloha means a lot of different things, and it means hello and goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's definitely the joke is that like they realize, when it occurred to them that they're like, oh, the word can mean different things. That's right. That joke writes itself, I guess.
Hmm. And I didn't notice it until just now, but we don't get any lines from him or any scenes from him, but I noticed that it's the old Asian guy, and his name is Joe, but he makes some good jokes in other scenes, but we can see him sitting at a booth, it's at one of the tables, and that's he. I think he has some of the best lines in the movie, but we don't get one in today's scene.
Yeah, I'm actually not even sure who you're talking about because I haven't seen the whole movie in a long time. So I probably
Yeah.
should have studied more. I do like typically when I've been on these, I like to watch the whole movie at one time, but
I feel like this is the movie that I have rewatched the most times than I have for any of the other movies that I've done on here, because a lot of times I'll watch the movie once and then I'll just kind of stick to the clips. But I think I've watched this movie like 3 times uh, before starting episodes. Although one of the times was with the commentary, which is Peter Siegel, the director, and Drew Barrymore, and it's a lovely commentary. It's worth listening to if you have the DVD.
oh, nice, that's cool.
And I love Tattoo Face or Nick, the cook, his eternal optimism, because Adam Sandler calls him Tattoo Face to his face, and he's just like, hey, peanut butter cup,
All
like
right,
nothing phases him.
yeah.
And I did notice that Adam Sandler is wearing a Matsumoto T-shirt, and like, let me ask you, like, have you ever been to Hawaii?
No, I haven't. My wife lived there for a while though, because she was in the Navy out of Pearl Harbor. So I need to go.
Yeah, I was a little surprised because I mean, since we've connected on Facebook, I know you do a lot of traveling, but apparently never to Hawaii.
No, no, no professional sports teams there. Guess it's not convenient for the rest of the league.
But this shirt is, it's for a shaved ice company that is like I believe it's well known in Hawaii. It's been around since 1951. So I feel like that's like one of these things that the filmmakers try and put into to be like, yes, these characters are Hawaiian natives and they are in Hawaii, so they're throwing everything they can that's Hawaiian at the audience for I guess like native Hawaiians to recognize, and people who have visited. It's like, oh, I've anyone that's been to Hawaii, oh, I've heard of that place.
Yeah, that's a good detail. Like, you and I might not even think anything of it, like regard in terms of what he's wearing, right? Like it could have been anything, but it's nice that they put a little thought into, making these references.
Hmm. And even though Sue is trying to run interference, she's not successful because she still has to run her business. And Henry Roth, he goes up to Lucy, and I feel like this line that he gives her, I'm not sure. I know that Lucy kind of has a similar sense of humor, but I'm not sure if even Lucy with her memory would go for this line, because it feels like a little bit of a pervy setup. To him talking about petting his walrus all day and thinking about her.
Yeah, I guess, but to like him, it's innocent, right? Like it doesn't occur to him how she's going to take it because he doesn't know what her situation is. So I don't know. I don't know. And plus, you could argue like, you should be yourself, right? And if she doesn't like it, then maybe you shouldn't be together.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. And the other bit that I love is, even though like Nick was friendly, is as soon as Lucy calls out for help, he just immediately and happily flips the switch and is ready to go after Henry with the meat cleaver.
Right. Yeah.
And then we get Sue actually running interference to take Henry outside and basically give him the backstory. And this is basically kind of an exposition dump, but I kind of like how they do this because they keep it fairly minimal, and they also go into a flashback and then they go into another scene. But at the same time, the scene is presented as part of Sue's story.
Yeah. What's the other scene? Sorry, because like I remember the car accident flashback. What other scene are you talking about?
The scene with her dad and Doug's routine, like
Oh,
that's
right.
like it feels like a completely different scene because it feels like it's just Lucy going home, and then for the most part, Henry Roth is the main character, and he's the one that we follow through the entire movie. And this is one of the few scenes that he's actually not in, and I think that's the reason for that is because this is actually like we're seeing this scene through Sue's story.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. He's not really a part of her story yet, so
Yeah, and I like that way, especially, jumping ahead a bit. Whenever we get to the last bit of this scene, whenever Henry is talking to Oola, he's describing it at the end, and he's saying, uh, he's talking to Oola about how they do this every day, which means that Sue told him about their entire routine. And so the reason that we're seeing it is because Sue is telling him their routine, and right there in front of the Hukilau.
right.
And so that's why we as the audience get to see it, and I kind of like that. It's interesting, and it's also subtle too, because if you don't like, if you're just watching it, you just think, okay, now we're following Lucy for a while and seeing what's going on with Lucy today.
Yeah, I think the way they do it works really well.
And then what did you think about the flashback to the accidents? Like, I, I feel like they're trying to kind of draw a line between uh, serious and silly.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely more dramatic than things in most Adam Sandler movies, right? It
Hmm.
was yeah, I thought they did a good job with it. I mean, they kind of cheat a little bit, right? You don't show the car accident, you show like a camera going towards a tree, right? It's because that's cheaper.
Hmm.
I was just really glad. I mean, I know she had brain damage and a memory loss, but I'm glad she didn't take a pineapple to the face because that would have freaked me out.
Yeah, I feel like the whole accident is done, very purposefully, stylistically. But at the same time, I feel like it's kind of so over the top and so overly stylistic that it kind of crosses the line into silliness, especially how it focuses so much on the pineapple just flying out the car window and across the field.
Yeah, I that it definitely is. I mean, it can be. I wouldn't be surprised if people kind of see it as kind of an eye rolling kind of thing,
Hmm.
It's a little.
Especially for how long the car spins. It's like
Yeah,
I feel like the car does two complete circles before they stop.
yeah.
And I also feel like I did do just a little bit of research, and this whole accident is kind of has two inaccuracies to it. And because, Lucy and her dad and Doug are supposed to be, not Hawaiian natives, but they're supposed to be Hawaiian locals. They live. They're not tourists. They actually live in Hawaii. But this feels like a very touristy thing to do, to go picking pineapples, because it's not like you can just go pick pineapples, because it's actually illegal to do that unless you go to a pineapple farm
Oh,
and
I didn't know that.
purchase a ticket. And yeah, you can't just like find a pineapple tree and go pick a pineapple in Hawaii.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess Dole has the corner on that market.
Yeah, and that is like one of the biggest ones. There's the Dole Plantation, and you can go there and get a tour. But I was looking at it, and it feels like that's mostly geared towards children. It's something that kids do, and you do get a free pineapple after the tour, but that doesn't feel like something that these two would do. And then I did notice that there is a more expensive um, a tour at Maui Gold, And that one does actually allow you to pick your own pineapple, but only if it's the right time of year, like when the pineapples would be ripe and ready for picking. And that's I read that that's the only pineapple farm where you're able to do that.
Oh, interesting. I know my wife has been to at least one of them. It might have been the Dole one though. I'm not sure because it sounds familiar. That's why I know it exists. It definitely does, to your point, like in the scene, like it is just like I think, you're right about how realistic it is or unrealistic it is. It's just
Mhm.
like another one of those like, well, it's Hawaii, so this is what this is what they're
Yeah.
doing, I guess.
Yeah, it's written from someone who's visited Hawaii but who has never lived in Hawaii.
Right.
And the same thing even with the cows, because it's even though there are cattle farms in Hawaii, but it would be extremely rare to actually see them roaming around anywhere like freely near a field. Especially like we don't see like a broken fence or anything, but they would be much more like I don't think there's a lot of free range cows. I think they're mostly, like the more mass produced cows.
That does seem like, now that I think about it, something that would be in another like in another area of the world. And but like
Yeah,
watching the
like
scene,
Montana where they have
never
so much
occurred to me.
space.
Right. Yeah, it never occurred to me that there was anything weird about that.
Hmm. And this is, and then right after the flashback, we find out that Lucy's basically been reliving the same day every day, and I had forgotten that because it's most people don't pay attention to movie dates, but that she's reliving October 13th of the previous year, which this movie came out in 2004, so I would assume that they're talking about 2003.
So I did look that up though. I looked it up based on the Vikings game,
Hmm.
and the game that they're watching is from October 13th, 2002.
Okay,
So
I couldn't tell because I tried looking up the game,
yeah,
but I
sorry.
didn't know enough about football. So, because I noticed that there was a game between the Vikings and the Lions on October 13th, 2003, but I couldn't tell if that was supposed to be this game or not.
Oh, the play is the game is real from uh 2002, October 13th, 2002. The Vikings won, and like if you look at the game log and everything, the scoring log, like there's a Culpepper 1 yard pass to Kleinsasser for a touchdown. So that's like a real play, and it is October 13th, 2002 actually, which is
Oh,
interesting.
nice.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I guess maybe just when they say the year before, like I guess kind of if they were making the movie in '03, then that's
Or
why they
this
used
could
that
be
game
taken
for.
because she does say it was over a year, so this could
Yeah,
be like January or February of '04.
right. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
and
Yes. Do we know when it is? Because I guess yeah, as far as she knows, it's October, but I guess it could be any time, right?
yeah, as far as I can tell, and I haven't gone deeper into later in the movie yet. I've just kind of watched it normally, but yeah, the only thing that we can tell is that it's over a year from October 13th.
Yeah.
And then based on that game, it would be over a year from October 13th, 2002.
Yeah.
And yeah, then we get this scene change, and we get to see firsthand uh, Doug's, Lucy, Doug, and her dad's routine, like her
Yeah.
evening routine, and then their after Lucy goes to bed routine.
Yeah. It's just like, I mean, I get it. It's a movie, it's a story, but like, it's such an interesting, because it's like the more you think about it, the more you're like, this is a terrible approach to handling this, right? Like,
Yeah.
like it's exhausting for everyone involved. Like, we have to relive the same thing. We have to do the same stuff. We have to make sure all this stuff is ready every day. And then also, like, I can't remember. Like I said, I haven't seen this full movie in a long time. But do they reference like what happened? I feel like someone mentions like what happens when like her dad's really old or like older or dies. Like at some point
Yeah,
he's gonna look different and she's gonna wake up and be like, what the hell's going on?
yeah, they bring that up, and then the dad says, and I worry about that every single day.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's I don't know, like because I know at the end, right, they kind of like at the end there's kind of like a
Like a
tape they gave her to
time
like
jump, yeah.
preference, like to like set her up for the day and give her the information she needs, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I think
something
it's
like that
it
probably
comes
would
up
be
pretty
better.
quickly. It's like within the next 10 or 15 minutes of the movie, as whenever he introduces the tape idea.
Yeah, it seems like something like that would be like even ignoring the Adam Sandler part of it, like that's something like that would be a much better idea than than doing all this. But I guess
Yeah,
that's the movie.
but at the same time, I this plan is only like maybe about 5 or 6 minutes of this 10-minute scene, but I feel like it's really um it really conveys a lot in a short amount of time, and we see the the dad and Doug both do a good job of showing just the exhaustion of putting on this show every single day for her, and just like just these little moments of how they show that they're tired of this, but then they immediately cover that tiredness up with the brave face and the fake excitement for Lucy's sake.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it's it's very well done, and it's like yeah, those moments really do like they're funny. Like the Sean Astin predicting the football play is funny, right? But it's
Hmm.
also like him just like he's bored and exhausted of doing this and every day, so it's like making it interesting or like just doing something different because he like can't control himself in that moment.
Yeah, and the fact that right before that they have the TV turned off, and they're just kind of throwing cards into a hat because they can't deviate too far from the script, just because that's you would imagine that they have tried that in other times, and it doesn't go so well. Then they have to deal with upset Lucy, and have to tell her the whole story and deal with that. So they do anything they can to basically not upset her, and this is in a way this is their way of dealing with her disability.
Yeah, do they reference at all in the movie like if they've had slip ups where because I mean obviously like she'll reset, right? So she could have a bad day and it would probably be terrible, but then you would get through it and then you'd start all over again. Do they reference that having happened?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's very economical, the way they do it, because whenever because she does have a bad day, not too much later in the movie. Again, it happens like about 10 more minutes or so, and whenever Sue calls them ahead of time, and then you hear the dad say, "We got a bad day, Doug," and so you know that just with that line you can tell that they have this plan set up for these bad days.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like you have so many moving parts. And you let her go out into the world, right? So like you're just, it's gonna happen.
But at the same time, I think that it's smart the way they have this plan, because he doesn't. They're not able to go um, pineapple picking because pineapples probably aren't in season right now. That's why we see them in this scene. They have a bunch of pineapples in the freezer, and they thaw a new one out each day because pineapples aren't in season right now. So they're not able to go pineapple picking, and also that would be more interactions in the real world, and this concept of having her paint the garage, that is really very smart from their point of view, because this is something that she loves doing. Like, you can see how excited she is whenever the dad uh, uncovers the tarp, and she realizes that she gets to paint the garage for him. And also, this is like an all day project. So it keeps her in the house for the majority of the day after having breakfast at the Hukilau.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, so I guess so. One thing I was just wondering, like, too. I wonder, are there any other things that would tip her off to like this is not the time of year you think it is? Like, I assume Hawaii is pretty nice all the time, right? But like,
Yeah, I would imagine it's fairly temperate, and any like if it's in the rainy season, then that can just be explained as that's weird. It's raining today.
yeah,
That's
right.
you can still get a rainstorm at any part of the day. I think maybe the only other issue would be if it's been raining for a while and it's extremely muddy, and even then it's like, oh, I guess it stormed pretty bad last night.
Yeah, that was actually the one that reminds me of one thing when they were kind of going through their nighttime routine and they like slightly refilled the shampoo and I'm like she's not gonna like unless it was like empty versus full or whatever, like something dramatic you'd be like, "Oh, that's weird." But like if I just thought that was kind
Hmm.
of funny because like even a person's not going to think twice about it really, even if they think it's like, "Oh, that's strange. Like I thought there was more or something."
Yeah, or especially she might just think that Doug used her shampoo or
Right.
something like that. And but again, I feel like this, it's a little thing, but it probably tells you a lot that maybe they had an experience where she noticed that the shampoo bottle was empty, and that was something that set her off, and so they go through this every day just so that's one less thing to potentially set her off.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, because I mean, I guess at some point you would notice something, right? Or you would like question it. So yeah, I guess
Mhm.
it's just easier to kind of maintain the same thing rather than like letting it go all the way down or something.
Yeah, and I think it's even smart, like the way that her dad opens up the VHS tape. Like he does it. It doesn't look like he's being extra careful, but you can tell that he's opening it up carefully without ripping the paper, so that way he can easily tape it up again that night.
Oh yeah, because he kind of like opens the bottom and slides it out. I didn't
Yeah.
think of that. That's a good idea.
Hmm. And just to make this the evening reset a bit easier. And of course, we have the joke of them watching The Sixth Sense, and they, for anybody that hasn't watched it, they kind of, they spoil The Sixth Sense for anybody, which at this point it wasn't that old of a movie. It was like it would have been, let's see, 99, 2000, I believe, and if the accident was in 2002, so that would have been like a relatively new VHS tape for Lucy.
I was thinking about that though, because yeah, it was like I looked it up. It was basically a little over 3 years before her accident, the movie came out. So I was like, you know, I almost find it hard. Like, I don't really remember what, I mean, I was 15 at that time. I don't really remember, like, the internet wasn't what it was today, but it was around. I, I kind of wonder if there were many people 3 years after The Sixth Sense that had either hadn't seen it or hadn't at least heard the twist because it was such like a talked about thing. So I almost like not really, but kind of a plot hole thing. I'm like, is really she's a person that made it 3 years without ever seeing The Sixth Sense or finding out the twist?
Yeah, I mean, I saw The Sixth Sense in theaters, but
Right.
I think I watched it in in a second run theater because I didn't watch it opening weekend, but I do remember that I was talking to my friends about it and they spoiled it for me before I got to see it.
Oh, that's disappointing. Yeah, that's like one of those things like you can only experience one time. That's a bummer.
Yeah. It's like back then I was really annoyed, but these days I don't care about spoilers. Like I don't go searching for spoilers, but I I really don't care if somebody spoils a movie or a TV show for me because like the surprise is fun, but also knowing a surprise in a way creates it's a different enjoyment, but there's still enjoyment for a good movie that's that has a twist. Because if you know that the twist is coming, then you enjoy like knowing that there's this build up to the twist, and you have the enjoyment of seeing the foreshadowing and seeing the hints to the twist beforehand.
Yeah, see, I'm the opposite. I don't even like, not only like specific spoilers, I don't even like someone saying like, oh, the ending to that episode was crazy. Like, I don't even want to know that. Like, I don't want a preconceived notion of like no.
Oh yeah, I also think it is kind of weird that they they go through the trouble of washing her outfit again, like her pink outfit, and I don't like. Did you know? Well, I guess you don't have a full memory of watching the movie the first time, but even watching it again, I didn't really pay attention and notice that she is wearing the same outfit every day.
Yeah,
That the pink shirt with the white pants.
I don't know if I would have like fully noticed, but I mean, I guess it's expected, right? I do wonder what
Hmm.
happens when the t-shirt kind of gets like, how many you can wash it every day. I don't feel like it's gonna fade or wear out at some point. Then they buy a new one.
Yeah, I would imagine that once it starts getting eaten up by the washer, they would have to buy a new one, so it still looks new. And like, how many paint clothes does she have? Because she has it's it's still a pink shirt, but it's a different pink shirt that has the paint all over it. And then she has a third outfit. She wears three different outfits during the day, but then one of them is her night outfit. Like, how do they? I guess they wash her night outfit while she's out having breakfast.
Well, I mean, I guess the question is like, does she expect or plan to wear the same thing? Because I mean, like me personally, like what I wear to bed or whatever, it's not like I have something for this day. It's just you just
Hmm.
grab shorts or whatever. So
Yeah,
I guess I mean, I can just do regular laundry at that point.
yeah, because and we haven't really gotten into it too much yet because this is only the second day that we, well, I guess technically the third day, but the first day that we see, Henry doesn't actually have any interaction with her, but we do see that she behaves differently, and she paints a different picture in the garage every day. So there is like, she doesn't have an exact like this isn't a Groundhog Day situation where she's living, she does the exact same steps in the same order. Like, she does the same things, but she does them differently every day.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like it makes you wonder. Yeah, it's interesting that someone in her position can come up with different ideas in the same situations every day. You know.
Hmm. But she does have this exact same outfit, which maybe it's something that we don't see, but this is the outfit that she picked out because it's her dad's birthday today. So that this is, she's wearing that because that's the outfit that she planned ahead to go. She wore that because she knows that she's going to go pick a pineapple with her dad for his birthday.
Right.
And then, yeah, and we see them. Actually, we haven't really talked about Doug very much because I think Doug is my favorite character in this movie. Like, what's your thoughts about Sean Astin's Doug?
I love Sean Astin. I mean, he's great in everything. So no, it's great to see him. I think that the lisp is a weird choice, but
Hmm.
I guess it's representative, right? So that's fine.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it gives him. I think the lisp gives Doug a more childlike quality to him,
yeah.
and so it makes him, a more innocent character, even though there is many references to him doing steroids.
Yeah, I was gonna say he looks great because like I feel like in Lord of the Rings, I feel like you kind of like, or at least Gollum kind of always kind of made fun of his weight. He was a little chubby, right? So he's looking good. It's like a year-ish after Return of the King came out. That's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, they filmed it all in like, in 1999 through 2000s. It was like a year and a half of filming, and then
Yeah.
I'm sure they did a few reshoots later on, but most of it was filmed all in that one big long go, and then
Yeah, that's true.
they did all the special effects afterwards.
Yeah.
And then just I'm sure some reshoots, but probably not extensive reshoots.
Yeah, no, he's great. He does. I mean, he's got good like comedic timing, and he does a good job in the serious stuff. I love Sean Astin.
Yeah, and just this whole bit with him, flexing his glutes and flexing his pecs in the mirror, and it's just it's so silly, but so endearing at the same time.
Yeah.
And also like him practicing talking to Stacy again. That I feel like that gives his character that's just an easy way to give him some innocence and tells the audience that he's not someone who is like a womanizer. He's someone that struggles to get a date because he's having this fantasy about talking to a girl that he knew in high school, and you feel like he's probably in his mid-20s at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I honestly would have thought he was older too. But yeah, I guess that's kind of like goes into his like immature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he could be mid-20s to mid-30s.
Yeah, and I mean, it's probably hard for him to like how could he get a relationship going with what he has to do in this situation. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, and this the song that they have for this whole back half of the routine, like after Lucy goes to sleep, is Another Day by Paul McCartney, and it's it's a nice song, and I think it really fits the mood, and I think the lyrics match what's going on in the movie. I think it's a really good choice for a song.
Yeah, I mean, that's not surprising. Adam Sandler, I mean, I think Adam Sandler's always been like a music person, has always had like good music in his movies. So that's not surprising.
And then we end this with a bit of Henry talking to Oola. So we do get another bit of Rob Schneider's character. Like, what's your thoughts about Rob Schneider and Oola as a character in this movie?
So in terms of Rob Schneider, he's kind of like, he's always like eternally linked to Adam Sandler, right? Like some of those people are. Like, it's funny to think that he, had a stretch where he was starring in his own movies, which is kind of crazy. But I mean, again, like I guess me at that age, like I always liked them. I'm sure I don't know how well like Deuce Bigelow or The Animal holds up right now. Probably not great. But I'm sure like
I don't think it held up that well even back then.
I'm sure I would have like some nostalgia for it though. But no, I always liked him, and on SNL he was great. I care for him less in more recent years, just for non-acting reasons. But no, he's good. He's good in this movie. He's typically good at whatever he does.
Yeah, I think I'm about 50-50 on Oola as a character. There are definitely moments that make me laugh in this, but at the same time, I feel like some of it, there are plenty of other times where I just roll my eyes, like especially in this scene where he has the bit where, he puts the joint away in the crack of his ass.
Right, and then he's like, "Do you have a cat? Because I feel something like rubbing me or something."
I feel something licking me whenever he like fell through the floor of the
Right.
ship, and again, like that kind of points out the fact that this ship of Henry's is old and falling apart. Like that it's got rotten wood that he has to continuously replace, and even though his dream is to go on this trip to Alaska, that from what we see of the shape of his boats, he's probably potentially still a long ways from making that boat Alaska worthy.
Yeah, what is his, like, is there something that's been like holding him back? I don't really remember. Like,
I get the feeling that it was just like the money situation, and just the fact that he has this boat, but the boat isn't in good enough shape to make the trip to Alaska, and he's like, saving up money so he can go on this trip and, fixing his boat up so that because the way he talks about it, he wants to be up there for like 6 months, and so you have to. That's a big planning stage, and the scene before, like the entire mast of his ship breaks and breaks the steering wheel, which we see him, which I didn't realize, but we see him fixing the steering wheel, which I didn't actually realize that that's what he was doing, because it looks like he's just putting a bicycle wheel on a Pepsi cooler. But I only just now realized that is his, cheaply rigged steering wheel mount.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That he was putting the bike wheel as a steering wheel.
Yeah, since the mast broke, and it also broke off his steering wheel and on his ship in the last scene.
Right.
And I do like this conversation, because I like how they basically get ahead of the audience. Like they say what the audience is likely thinking at this point, in terms of, Oola says, this is just like one of your women, that's because you go on all these one night stands. This is the perfect one night stand, because as soon as you're tired of her, you don't even have to give her an excuse. You just, don't go to her the next day, and whenever you're ready to go on your Alaska trip, you just leave and poof. But I think it's weird that as a character, he says that, he's no good at the poofing, but the entire first scene is this entire montage of him basically poofing.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was more about, like, wasn't like Rob Schneider in a way kind of like encouraging him to like take advantage of the situation a little bit?
Yeah, he's basically saying, that this is the perfect woman for you, because, it's a clean slate every night.
Yeah, I feel like it kind of exists like to have, Rob Schneider be that way so that it can paint the main character as like a decent guy for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like that's kind of seems to be the purpose to me.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what it does. But it's just kind of weird, because again, like I said, that Oola says, once you go to Alaska, you can just poof, and then his character Henry Roth, Adam Sandler's character, he says, I'm no good at the poofing, but the entire opening montage was these dozen women that basically explain how he poofed on them in different ways. He just ran away. He said that he's married. He said that he's gay. Like these are all these examples of how he poofed on women, but now he's saying that no, he's no good at poofing.
Huh, that's interesting. Yeah, because it seems like the way he's acting in this scene, he like by saying that what you just quoted him as saying, like he sounds like like a romantic who doesn't want to do those things.
Yeah, it's like as soon as he met Lucy, he turned into the stereotypical nice guy, good guy, and completely gave up his womanizing ways just because he found a local that he liked.
Yeah.
Which that's one thing that I think this movie does struggle with, and like it makes sense, but I almost wish that they just made him a good guy from the begin with, and not had this whole opening scene showing that he was this big womanizer that goes on these like weekend flings with all these tourists.
I guess like that's his growth, right? Like he doesn't take stuff seriously with these other women, right? And just does whatever, and then falls for Drew Barrymore's character and makes changes.
Yeah, except like he makes the changes immediately. Like there's no growth. He goes from womanizer to nice guy in the course of like 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's not perfectly laid out.
But if you start the movie with him seeing Lucy for the first time, then the rest of the movie makes complete sense. He's a nice guy. He's always been a nice guy. But just the whole fact that they're trying to make him, that's the fact that he was a womanizer just the day before, actually that day, because, the opening scene is him, jumping on a jet ski to escape from his most recent weekend fling.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess they just want to make it seem like he is just like something about her falls for her quick.
Yeah. And also just the fact that, kind of like how we hear him say, like, if he is a womanizer with Lucy, then that's evil. That's his line that he says here whenever Oola is saying that, you should just womanize her every day. And then he replies with, no, that's evil. And that's because that is what that character would be if that's what he did. He has to be a nice guy for this movie to work with Lucy having this memory condition.
Yeah, absolutely. Otherwise, he's taking advantage of someone.
Yeah, and then that wraps up today's date. And is there anything else that you want to say about this scene or anything else about this movie?
No, I mean I think we pretty much covered everything on the movie. Like shared our thoughts on Adam Sandler. I did want to point out that the nighttime routine scene ends with a painting over wipe, I guess you would call it, which is kind of interesting. So,
mm-hmm.
But
yeah, this movie does have these little, these really brief moments of interesting artistic choices, like and that I do agree that is one of them, with the whole painting over the camera into black.
Yeah, no, it's an enjoyable movie, and it's a light, pretty light movie. Like you said, I think you said, in terms of the movies you've covered, this one you've seen or watched more. Like, it's definitely not as good as some of the other movies you've covered, but it's just because a movie is good doesn't mean you want to watch it all the time. Like Oppenheimer is good. I can't watch Oppenheimer every day. This is a lot more lighthearted. This is like a sitcom. It's like putting on something that's just entertaining. That's good.
Yeah, this is an easy watch for sure.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And I don't believe you have any projects or anything going on, but if anybody wants to find you online, if you want them to, is there anywhere they can do that?
No, I mean, not really. I don't have a public persona. Nothing. I don't have anything worth checking out, really. But I'm Chris J. Nelson everywhere, so you'll probably find me if you want to.
All right, and I am Bubbawheat, and this podcast is It's Time to Rewind, and we are going through 50 First Dates for once a week for the foreseeable future. And we also have a Facebook group. It's Time to Rewind, a time loop group, and you can join that to discuss this movie and these episodes as they come out, as well as have discussions about past seasons or about new or upcoming time loop movies, TV shows, video games. All discussion is welcome there. And when this comes out, you will also be able to listen to my other podcast project, which just went live last week, which is Fight Club Minute. And those episodes are coming out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So if you're listening to both podcasts, you get 4 episodes a week of me covering 50 First Dates and Fight Club. And it's a lot of work, but it's been a lot of fun so far. And I will see you for breakfast next week.
Hey you, aloha.
Aloha.
Not aloha hello, aloha goodbye. We're closed today, go away.